I need this soundtrack in my life. I'm not one for a lot of the modern pop stuff, really. I mean, I'm able to listen to it for the sake of my day job and things like that and be as familiar as possible, probably with some of the singles and hits at least. But it's not really my forte to listen to more modern pop that's happening these days. This movie, though, the songs are pretty catchy, I'll admit. So, and I was just laughing so hard at some of these lyrics, so I need to find that soundtrack. That being said, Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping. It's an okay movie. And no, I'm just joking. It's better than okay. It's a really enjoyable comedy. Honestly, it's a movie that I wasn't really highly anticipating, or I had a kind of the wrong impression of it based off of the trailers. When I first saw trailers for this movie, I kind of had a feeling it was going to be a play on the string of Justin Bieber documentaries that have been coming out, where it's like really pumping up, you know, its focus character. It's really pumping up its subject to be this great person and everything like that, and that it was just gonna kind of be a little bit of that, and that Andy Samberg would be playing a Bieber-esque type of douchebag. The way those trailers came off to me at first, it just didn't really vibe with me. But then when I went to actually go watch this movie, I didn't think it was gonna be terrible at all, because this is totally playing into your appeal of it, what I've mentioned before with other movies, such as the Turtles movie, such as, to kind of draw similarities along this, such as the Keanu movie. If you're a fan of this particular set of people's comedic stylings, you're gonna enjoy this movie quite a bit, because this is them doing what they do best. I'm a big fan of the Lonely Island stuff. Just as much as I was a fan of Key and Peele's stuff, so that's why Keanu really clicked for me, because it was very much a Key and Peele movie, and this is very much a Lonely Island movie, and it plays into their strengths of really coming up with funny lyrics and jokes that you know, are pretty fast paced, and you had to laugh at them, and then they're moving on to something else. They work really well in that. But if that is not your thing, if you haven't been a fan of their stuff from SNL or their Incredibad album or everything else, this is probably not going to appeal to you as much. But that being said, I had some trepidation about this movie because of the fact I was getting a way different vibe from the trailer. That was going to be about this Bieber-esque, unlikable douche. But then as I was watching the movie, I realized how wrong I was in that. Like, this isn't at all like... I mean, you can kind of tell maybe they're picking their targets vaguely. There's hints of, I guess, a Bieber type of personality there, but it's also playing in a lot about, you know, artists that strive out on their own after being part of a group. It plays into a little bit of Timberlake maybe, and which is hilarious because Timberlake's actually in the movie for a couple of scenes as Connor for Real's personal chef, and he has some pretty funny scenes in there. So that's the thing too, they utilize their cameos and guest stars really well, the Lonely Island. But the more I was watching this movie, the more I was getting that This Is Spinal Tap vibe from it. Like, this is very much a modern day spiritual successor to This Is Spinal Tap, to the point where it is almost playing very familiar beats from This Is Spinal Tap. It opens up with Connor for Real, Andy Samberg's character, already kind of doing his solo thing, but harkens back to when he was part of this trio, this boy band or rap group, kind of like the Beastie Boys a little bit, combined with I'm trying to think of a three-piece boy band or whatever, but they were called, I believe it was called the Style Boys or whatever, and it's him, it's a Yorma and Akiva, so it is the Lonely Island troupe that is representing this group, and then they have Big Success, and Tim Meadows is their manager early on, with really ridiculous sounding songs, but they're still like hilarious. And then they have a big band breakup because Andy Samberg takes credit for writing guest lyrics, his catchphrase lyrics he calls it, in another big pop star's hit, when it was actually Akiva's character Lawrence who wrote the lyrics. So they have a big split and a feud and go their separate ways. And so now Andy Samberg is on his own thing. He's been making his own albums with the help of Jorma's character Owen, who's like his DJ. And even Jorma acknowledges, like, all I do is I sit up here with an iPod and I press play, and that's his entire job throughout this movie. And it is a mockumentary following this character, because it's following as he's releasing this newest album that's getting really bad reviews. And that's a funny scene in of itself, because he gets on to like Rolling Stone, and instead of like this many stars out of 4 stars, they give him the shit emoji. And it's a blink and you'll miss it thing, but in the article it says, "Connor, we reserved the shit emoji specifically for you," and that made me laugh a little bit more. But the great send up to it is that he's like, I never read criticisms, but let's take a look and see how the album's doing. Each criticism he's getting more and more down in the dumps, very much along the lines of when Rob Reiner's character would be reading reviews to Spinal Tap. He'd be like, your third album, Shark Sandwich. Rolling Stone put it this way with just 2 words: shit sandwich. Like, it was reminding me very much of that. The payoff is a little different, because he's like, oh, The Onion. The Onion says that my album is a triumph. Alright, so mixed reviews. Like, that got the biggest laugh from me. I was laughing quite a bit throughout this movie. Part of it is the performances. Part of it is the parody works very well. Very unnervingly well, too. Like, The Lonely Island, half of it is that The Lonely Island are really good at this type of parody. The other half of it is that our real-world pop culture is only a fraction off from being this fucking absurd and stupid. And that's a hilarious and sad thing. But a lot of this was really working, and I thought, again, my trepidation was that, is this POV character going to wear thin on me? Am I going to get sick of Andy Samberg portraying this character? Honestly, no. As much as he is a douche and he is dim-witted and everything like that, but there is likability to him. There is some kind of character going on there, at least. That it's not just him being, you know, an oblivious asshole for an hour and 30 or something like that. Is that he's actually got a nice character arc going through it. And it is the Spinal Tap character arc where he's on this tour and sales aren't doing so well, and he's trying new gimmicks and putting this really in-your-face rapper on the road with him as an opener who ends up overshadowing him and ends up being a bigger asshole than him and losing friends along the way. And then his redemption arc, and I think you can call it, as soon as it opens up on the Style Boys, I'm like, okay, so they break up, they're going to get back together by the end. It's going to be that, it is a cliche at this point, but it works still, the reunion of the group at the end of the movie. And that's where it ends up going. But I wasn't, even though I was kind of calling those plot points way ahead of time, I still was heavily invested in what was going on. And there's a lot of absurdist stuff that happens, but at no point does it feel like it's really taking me out of the reality that's set up in this movie. At no point does it feel like too much. I will say that this is far wackier with regards to its spectacle, I'd say, as opposed to Spinal Tap. There's wackiness in Spinal Tap, but it feels like it's coming from a very rooted reality. All the stage mishaps and everything like that. That's stuff that I totally believe would happen to an actual rock band if shit just went haywire on stage. And there's stuff like that too in here. You've seen it probably in the trailers where he ends up trying to do this magic trick on stage where they put a sheet over him and then he's all these different costumes and stuff. And then at one point he comes out fully naked, but he's got his dick tucked back between his legs, because that's the only way to make the trick work. Like, they show him rehearsing it and he gets his junk caught up in the apparatus, so he's like, I gotta tuck it back, man, in order to make it work. And so that's the payoff for it. You know, it's bizarre and weird, but at the same time, at no point am I taken out of the experience. I'm still like laughing. I mean, this thing has, because a lot of it takes root in what's going on right now in stage shows and in concerts and stuff. The opening like concert that they're doing, it's got him and several holographic versions of himself on stage, and then he's got holographic Adam Levine there doing backup vocals, but then it gets like blown way out of proportion where there's two Adam Levine holograms bumping and grinding on each other over here. Yorma's character Owen up in the DJ booth has got a holographic Andy Samberg riding his back piggyback style. And then there's three holographic Andy Sambergs down on the front step just kind of doing this thing, doing like their dance moves. And it's bizarre and it's weird, but it works so well. A lot of the supporting characters and the cameos are utilized very well. Any other movie, I kind of feel like they would just kind of have people pop in and out as glorified cameos, just to kind of say hi and wave for the camera, and that's it. But the fact that it is like a documentary, you have all these famous artists or big artists right now coming up with this history of having listened to the Style Boys when they were younger, like, and you have like cameos that have little character arcs in and of himself. Like Usher shows up every once in a while and he's doing like a talking head, a testimonial to the camera saying like, man, the Style Boys, they were a big influence on me. Like I wanted to do their dance. I wanted to do the donkey roll is their trademark dance, the group's trademark dance. He's like, man, it was always a dream of mine to be up on stage with Style Boys and do the donkey roll. And you kind of hear it and then it's gone. And then come the reunion performance of the Style Boys, there is Usher right up there with a goopy looking Style Boys sweatshirt doing the donkey roll with all three of them, and you see him backstage. He's like, yes, I did it. Like it's really good. It's really kind of fun to see like these little cameos have their own arcs, as it were. You've seen this in trailers too, where he gets attacked by wolves, but the whole setup for that is Connor for real is going to propose to his girlfriend of 6 months, played by, I believe it's Imogen Poots, who plays his girlfriend. And she has a little role in this movie, but she makes the most of it. And her whole thing is like, ever since I was a little girl and I saw like tabloid news and TV shows about this couple, or are they a couple, aren't they a couple, and they leave you guessing of whether or not they're in love or not, I've always wanted to be one of those people. So it's a completely superficial relationship, and he's going to propose to her to kind of save public image at this point, because at this point footage of him naked on stage is spreading around and everyone believes he doesn't have a dick. So he makes this big proposal with photographers from the press there in this vast field with like an altar and everything like that, and Seal's up on stage with a band singing a song. I think the whole deal was that like at one point she told him that her spirit animal was a wolf, so he's got 8 to 10 wolves surrounding this altar with their trainers. And the whole gag is that as he's proposing and Seal's singing, the wolves just start howling at the moon. Or not the moon, but they just start howling because the music's agitating him. And Paul Schreer shows up as one of the trainers to talk to his manager, Tim Meadows, and be like, dude, you gotta cut this short. The music is really agitating the wolves. And they just power through. And so that's the part of the trailer. The wolves are like on the attack, and you see Seal get attacked by one. But it doesn't end there. Like, he ends up like snapping the wolf's neck. He ends up howling at the moon. And Andy Samberg's like, holy shit, man, and how'd you do that? And Seal's like, you want to know how I got these scars? And he's like, wolves? Fucking wolves, man. I love that. Like, it's just the right amount of self-deprecation for Seal that it worked. And then there's follow-up to that even, because then you'll see magazine covers every once in a while, like a People magazine cover with Seal with an eye patch. It says like, Seal suing Connor for wolf attack. I mentioned Justin Timberlake earlier. He pops in and out as Connor's private chef, and he makes the most of that time, and he's definitely playing character. And it's just kind of funny because he's off to the side like chopping carrots and singing while Connor and his posse are watching Furious 7, I think. And Connor's like, hey man, shut up, we're watching the movie here, God. And then one of his yes men is saying, is saying, yeah, man, leave singing to the professionals. And of course, you know, that's an obvious wink and a nod there. But the reaction to Timberlake, he's just like, and just starts quietly cutting carrots yet again. But even he has a payoff later on in the movie. The supporting cast are all really good. I like the dude, Chris Redd, who played the rapper that is like his opening act for a while and ends up overshadowing him. I forget his Hunter something or other, but he's really kind of funny. It's revealed that he was the one responsible for Connor's naked, dickless mishap. But early on, Connor's like accusing him of pranking him on stage. And he's like, "Oh man, I wish I could have done that, man. You would have to be an expert prankster to have thought of that. Man, I wish I thought of that. Or did I? Nah, I didn't. Or did I?" And he just keeps that going. And you think that would kind of get old really quick, but his energy and slyness that he puts into it is really entertaining to watch, that it doesn't wear itself out. Like, the joke lands, it can go on for a little bit, and then you go about to the next thing. And a lot of the music videos are really funny. What I was thinking too is that if any of these music videos could have qualified for an SNL digital short on their own, but they work well when chained together in this documentary style. It does make sense, and it is pretty hilarious. He has this one song called Equal Rights. And I feel it is very much making fun of the Macklemore Same Love video and song in a way. But not really in a mean-spirited way, because it's more about at the expense of the character himself, as opposed to, you know, being a homophobic type of song. Like, he's talking about, we all need equal rights, we all need our own sexual freedom, but it's interspliced with him just cuts to him the same look, looking over his shoulder and being like, "I'm not gay." And he's like, "I'm not gay." He's like, "Sports." Football. He's like sitting in bed with 10 honeys. "I'm not gay, but we all love our equal rights." And it's hilarious. And then he's teamed up singing with Pink, I think, and Pink the entire time he's doing like this spoken word on top of her chorus. She's just giving him this look like, "Are you fucking serious with this?" Like, and he's like the reverend at this wedding for two gay men and everything, and he's, you know, saying it's like, "We all have a right to love who we want to love. I ain't gay though." And one of the husbands like looks over to him like, and I'm like, they keep that in the music video. I love that. And like I said, it's not so much about being offensive in that sense. It's about just this idiot pop star who has such a fragile ego when it comes to his sexuality, that even in a song promoting equal rights, even through all that, he's still got to make it about him being straight. And I just love that idea. But at the same time, it doesn't feel that far off from something a pop star in our actual society would do at this point. And that, again, that's the hilarious thing and the unnerving thing about this movie in a way, is like, man, this thing is so close to being almost just a legit documentary at times. And I really, even though it's a very predictable arc about him reconnecting with his former bandmates, you like the camaraderie they have. It's melodramatic as hell. It's supposed to be for the sake of this comedy, but at this point, you kind of vibe off of the friendship that Andy, Yorma, and Nakiba have. You can tell that they are really good friends outside of productions, and that they really love to collaborate on this. I think Yorma and Nakiba actually are the co-directors of this movie, so it is a very it gets pretty touching at times too. It's not always just straight up parody. There's a point where Connor's hit rock bottom and he's gone back to live at his mom, or not live at his mom's house, but he's house sitting his mom's house while she's on tour with Fall Out Boy. His mom, who's played by Joan Cusack for like a minute, and then she's gone from the movie. And I really want more of Joan Cusack as this freeloading mom who loves living the wild life through her son. And she's like at at his at a big party of his, and she's doing lines of coke with his groupies. Sarah Silverman is his publicist, and she stops by to cheer him up and everything. And that's the thing, is these actually feel like likable characters. Tim Meadows' manager character is very likable. Sarah Silverman's publicist character is very likable. You'd think she'd be just a stereotypical Sarah Silverman, really dry, dark humor, but no. I mean, she has a couple jokes, but she's really kind of there in a very nurturing and supportive role. At one point, I thought they were gonna hook up. I'm glad they didn't go that route, and that she's just more there to prop him back up after he's been beaten down. And so they're watching home movies together, and there's a point where they're watching footage from his 9th birthday party, and Yorma and Nikiva's characters are there. They've been best friends since they were little kids, and it turns out throughout the movie he references his pet turtle Maximus, another movie this weekend with a turtle in it, and he's had it since he was 9 years old. And it's revealed in this footage that Yorma and Nikiva's characters bought the turtle for him for his 9th birthday, and it's not overplayed, and he gets misty-eyed, but he's not gonna start it doesn't get overly dramatic. It's a brief little thing, but it works for the sake of this comedy. And it reminds me a lot of when Nigel Tufnell returned to the band towards the end of Spinal Tap, and there's just a quiet thing between Christopher Guest and Michael McKean, and all Nigel has to say is go have a good show, all right? And that's all you need. It's subtle when it has to be, but then it'll immediately smash cut to him in a giant nose, giant chin, fake wig and glasses thing, because he doesn't want to be recognized out in public, so he puts on his makeup disguise. And just to see him at the bar in this getup, and Sarah Silverman next to him, just embarrassed to be there with him. I don't want to say too much else. I gotta stop. It made me really really enjoy, I guess, modern pop a little bit. Like I said, the music is actually pretty hilarious, and the lyrics are engaging. I stayed through the credits. I didn't think there was going to be a post-credits stinger, but they had a song playing called Legalize It, and the whole thing is just about them wanting to legalize crack, because he's like, I just made some crack, I want to take it, legalize it. But it's the lyrics that really play. He's like, I want to do it right now. It's like, why can't I do it? It's like, I'm tired of waiting. Those are the kind of lyrics, and it just made me just laugh and stay just for the music, essentially. There's a song where he compares having sex with a girl to killing bin Laden. This is insane, but I love it. This is just crazy, but it's an enjoyable crazy. And yes, Michael Bolton does show up for the finale, and it is Captain Jack Sparrow levels of awesome. I'm wholeheartedly recommending Popstar. Again, if you're a fan of Lonely Island stuff, if you've been a fan of their digital short stuff or anything off of their albums, you're gonna enjoy this movie. It really plays into a lot of their sensibilities and strengths. The guest appearances and cameos are utilized really well. The supporting players have their moments to shine too. I really enjoyed what Sarah Silverman and Tim Meadows were doing in their roles, and they were just as hilarious and engaging as this trio. And again, the soundtrack alone is worth it. Just to hear these insane tunes and to have a laugh at the weird shit they put to film with it. Again, it'll ring familiar, eerily familiar of what a lot of out there pop stars are probably doing right now, but at the same time, just disconnected enough that you can have a good belly laugh at it. I laughed pretty much non-stop throughout this movie, and it didn't disappoint. And for the fact that I really wasn't anticipating enjoying it, I'm glad I was proven wrong on this front. I'm glad it turned out to be something very different.